Hey, I'm Macy.
And I'm Maggie, and this is Extraordinary with Mason Max,
Just two besties anchored in Jesus.
chatting about faith, life, motherhood, marriage, plants, recipes, really whatever's on our hearts.
Where Jesus brings the extra to the ordinary.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, welcome back. Before we actually dive into this episode, which will happen in just a minute, I wanted to hop on and wish Maggie a very happy birthday. We kind of changed up our schedule a little bit and ended up this episode is being published on her birthday, and I am just so grateful that the Lord brought Maggie into my life. And as she shares her testimony, it is just evident how his hand has been on her in her whole life, and his hand played a huge role in her and I coming together. So I just wanted to wish Maggie a very happy birthday, and I love you so much, Maggie. You are truly a light in the world, and it is just evident how much you love the Lord in all that you do. So without further ado, I will let Maggie share her testimony, and we will get started next. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary with Mason Mags. We are so glad that you're here.
Yes, and we certainly hope that you have listened to our latest episode, episode 3, Macy's testimony, and we hope that you guys enjoyed that.
We are going to go ahead in full transparency, because that is how we are around here, is we hope you caught the blooper in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, like Macy said, we're fully transparent, relatable, authentic around here. And if you randomly heard me say, like the Sierra song, and start singing Level Up, it's because, you see, when me and Macy record these podcasts and we mess up or we say too much or don't say enough and we want to interject or whatever, we always say what we want to say. And then to come back into professional mode, we say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it just was the perfect moment of thinking of Sierra in Level Up.
And we like to add our bloopers at the end. So if you don't listen to the end of the podcast, you're missing out, because we always have just a couple little things there. And so that was supposed to go at the end of the episode. It did not go at the end of the episode. It just stayed right there in the middle of it.
We were just making sure you were paying attention. It was just a mid-episode check-in.
But yeah, so it has been that we said life was lifing, and life still be lifing around here.
Just for instance, I thought my lawnmower broke 2 days ago, and Macy's dog almost ripped its toenail off.
Yes, like it's just a casual day. And I also became the owner of a duck by happenstance.
You know, there's never anything too far-fetched in the life of Mason Mags, okay?
Never. But we will just get right into today's episode. So if you listen to my testimony, you know that Maggie and I started the episode with asking if you could give a piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would it be? I gave my answer, and now it is time for Maggie to give hers. So Maggie, what advice would you give 16-year-old you?
Well, let me just preface my answer by saying that this is such, I feel like, a loaded question. There's so much advice I wish I could go back and give my 16-year-old self. But I think the two things that are really standing out to me in answering this question are, number one, to soak up every single moment. So, like Macy, I had an uncle also unexpectedly pass away when I was 16, and it just rocked me. And I feel like there were so many times, not even just with him, but just in life prior to that, that I just took for granted. And so I think just soaking up every single moment, because the older you get, the quicker I feel like time goes by, especially now that I'm a mom. Totally see this to be true in the life of my son. Like, I literally blinked and have a 2-year-old. So soak up every single moment and just be present in every moment. And also, I just wish I was a little bit more bold. Like, I think there's a healthy way to be respectful and still be bold. And I wish I was a little bit more bold when I was 16 in just the things I believed in, and just a little bit more outspoken, to be honest.
I love that. So I think we could all use that reminder, no matter how old you are, to just soak up every day and not let it just fly by and take it for granted. And then I will say, if you would have been friends with me at 16, I would have definitely helped you in the being bold, because those that knew me in high school, And I mean, now I'm the same way. I'm still that way. I'm just telling it how it is.
I think what I mean by it really is by being bold, more bold. What I mean more so is just staying true to myself and the things that I believe in and the things that I think to be true. Because, 16, high school, obviously, I wasn't where I am now spiritually. And so I think it was just easy to kind of, water down my beliefs or my stances on things for the sake of saving face almost, or just not rocking the boat. And I wish I would have been more bold and rocked the boat when it really needed to be rocked.
Yes, completely get that. And once again, that's still a great reminder for today. I think that there are so many people that are just floating through life, keeping the peace. And I mean, sometimes you should keep the peace, but other times, whenever it's hurting your peace, you should definitely rock the boat.
Yes, and I will say not to go straight off the deep end, but it's the what the Bible says, so don't get mad at me, but literally in the book of Revelation, God talks about those who are lukewarm and he says he'll vomit them out of his mouth. Like, we're not called to be lukewarm, we're called to be bold and stand up for the things that we believe in.
Yeah, so don't get mad at Maggie. It's not,
Yeah.
Maggie's just taking
I didn't
it
I
as it
didn't say
is.
it. I just said what the Bible said, okay?
But today we are going to get into Maggie's testimony. So, with that, Maggie, are you ready to get started and share your story with our listeners?
Yeah, I'm super excited to just dive right into it and hopefully allow you guys to get to know me on a more personal level, as well as hoping to just encourage and help others who might be in similar situations or just need some encouragement. So, yeah, we'll get
Okay,
right into it.
take it away.
All right. So, as you guys know, I'm obviously Maggie. Was born in Virginia, raised in Virginia, still live in Virginia. I have an older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and I have a younger sister. We're 14 months apart, so we're super close in age. And growing up, I just had a super tight knit family. We did everything together. My mom is one of eight, so we were constantly with my aunts and my cousins and my grandma and just always doing something with family. My mom grew up in a Catholic household and went to Catholic private school her whole life. My grandma would serve in her church. My dad grew up in the Baptist church and kind of from what I've gathered just over the years, it kind of seems like as he got older and grew into his adult years, he kind of distanced away from the physical church and wasn't really as involved as he was when he was younger and when his grandpa would take him to church. So, all this to say, my parents raised us in the Catholic Church primarily. We would attend Catholic Church regularly. We did the first couple sacraments. I did like First Communion and all of those things. My parents would fight to get us to Sunday school in Catholic Church, and they were doing the best they could to get us involved in some sort of church. So I'm very grateful for that and grateful for being raised in church as a young child. Fast forward a couple years, I remember being around 8 years old and I was in the truck with my dad on the way home from something. I'm not exactly sure. Basically, my dad, I remember vividly him asking if I had accepted Jesus into my heart. And I told him no, because I truly hadn't. I had always known and believed in something bigger than myself. I believed Jesus came, died, rose again 3 days later, and is in heaven. But I didn't ever truly know what it meant to be saved or accept him into my heart. Well, of course, my dad asking me this and then hearing my answer basically walked me through the sinner's prayer. And for what it looked like I accepted Jesus into my heart that day at 8 years old. However, I, knowing myself now, of course, and truly being saved, I know that I was not saved in that moment and there was no change in my life at that point. So basically, I prayed the prayer, thought I was good. I'm going to heaven. Well, flash forward a couple more years, and this is about middle school. Basically, my parents would send us to this summer camp at a Christian retreat center right up the road from our house every summer. And so it was like a week-long camp. I'm sure everyone heard about the horrific flooding that just occurred in Texas, but when I saw all the stuff about Camp Mystic, it reminded me of the summer camp I attended every year. So just to put things into perspective or give a visual, like that's what we're talking about. I attended my 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade years. My sister came with me every year. We were in different cabins sometimes, but we were still in the same place. And really, it was just a good place to disconnect, get into nature. I mean, we did a lot of things outdoors. We went swimming, campfires, zip lining, like anything you can think of that you would do at a summer camp, we did. But then we also had Bible study and worship, and a pastor came and preached. Well, 7th grade, I remember being at this camp, and mind you, I had already been the previous year, my 6th grade year. Well, 7th grade comes around, and this pastor, he started talking about the gospel. And growing up in Catholic Church, I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but it's very traditional. You don't hear a priest in the Catholic tense just preach. It's all very traditional, almost ritualistic. And so I wasn't getting anything out of the services I attended in the Catholic Church. However, when I came to this summer camp and heard a pastor genuinely just preach the good news of Jesus, I completely knew I was not saved and I needed to be. And so I remember 7th grade having this longing and desire to fully surrender to the Lord, make him Lord of my life, accept him into my heart, and change. Like I knew I needed to change. I acknowledged that I had sinned, and I acknowledged that essentially, like, my sin is what sent Jesus to the cross. And then I also acknowledged that he died for Maggie and defeated death for Maggie. Like, he took my place. And so it finally clicked. And I remember my camp counselor, her name was Nicole, and I remember like coming to her literally in tears. I was moved so emotionally. I felt feelings I had never felt before. And we sat on the bench, and I truly accepted Jesus into my heart at that moment and got saved. So, this is 7th grade. Came home from camp, was on fire for the Lord, literally would make it a habit. Like, I was reading my Bible every day. I was memorizing verses. I was listening to Christian music, truly on fire and bearing fruit in that time. Well, 8th grade comes around, and this is the start of the prodigal years. I was really good friends with this one girl all throughout middle school and high school, and we were about to go into high school. We're 8th graders now. We're the upperclassmen in middle school, and we always had friends that were older than us. And that is when we started kind of going off the deep end, partying, just living for the world. So I definitely started to go prodigal around 8th grade. 8th grade ends going into high school. And I had periods, I feel like, where like short spurts of like I would be on fire and then I would get pulled back again and I'd be on fire. It's like one step forward, 3 steps back every single time. But that's the beautiful thing about God's grace. 8th grade, I played softball and cheered throughout middle school, so I was definitely heavily involved in sports. And in the middle school that I went to, and the high school that I went to, it was really small. So, kind of like most schools, if you're an athlete, you get more attention. You're kind of the in crowd, whatever. Well, high school, I'm a freshman. My brother is a senior. So that also presented new challenges for me in regards to following the Lord because my brother's a senior and I'm a freshman. And he lets me hang out with him and his friends. So, hung out with my brother and his friends, still continued partying, doing all the things that high schoolers do, unfortunately. But the one thing I could cling to was I was a good student. I naturally was a good student. I could make good grades with minimal effort. And so that continued. Sophomore year, after my uncle passed away, we moved to a different county. So I switched high schools in the middle of the 4 years. So literally spent 2 years at one high school, spent 2 years at another. And when I got to the new high school, start of my junior year, it felt like a new start. I didn't know as many people there as I did at the previous one. and it was a new county. So these were kids I hadn't grown up with or gone through middle school with. It was like completely new scene. It was a lot bigger school than my previous one. So there was more opportunities to get involved and just a completely new page for me to start off on. So at this point, I'm a junior. Well, given the way me and my siblings' ages are, my brother's already in college. My sister is a freshman. We're 14 months apart, but 2 school years. So my sister is a freshman. I'm a junior. I can drive. So what does this present? New opportunities for me to lead my sister down the wrong path. So my sister, of course, because I could drive, would hang out with me and my friends all the time. So the partying kind of continued. And okay, while I'm saying all of this, it sounds like I'm a party animal. That's halfway true, but like I wasn't skipping school to go get drunk or anything like that. So like let's not get that twisted. But when the weekend came around, I definitely was going to a party with my friends. And now would take my sister with me to these parties and all the things. Well, I remember it's my junior year, and me and my sister stayed out past our curfew, lied to my parents about where we were, and ended up getting caught. And while my parents, they were not strict. My parents just wanted us to be safe and they wanted to know where we were. And if they gave us a curfew, we needed to obey it. And we completely disobeyed them. Like I said, lied about where we were, stayed out past curfew. And I remember coming home and my parents just being so disappointed. And they were more disappointed than mad, but me and my sister ended up getting grounded for 2 weeks. And looking back on this now as an almost 25-year-old woman who's married and has a child of my own, I can definitely relate with the fact that they were disappointed with me more so than they were mad at me because not only did I disobey and lie to them, but I also influenced my sister to do the same. Like I had a role as a leader and I blew it. Me and my sister were grounded, and in that I definitely reflected. I was genuinely upset at what we did, but there still wasn't much change of heart after that. Mind you, I was the middle child, so I was a rule follower for the most part, never got in trouble. And so this was the first time I got grounded, my junior year of high school. So that happened. Flash forward to senior year. I knew I wanted to go away for school, and I knew I wanted to go away, meaning I wanted to go out of state. I had a heavy draw to forensic science, specifically ballistics. I've always been interested in guns and firearms and just was curious and had a passion for learning more about ballistics.
Did not know that. I'm interrupting. I did not
Oh.
know that. That is so cool.
Yeah,
I went
girl.
to a smart kid camp when I was like 7, and we went over crime scene stuff, and I wanted to be a crime scene person
Yeah.
for several years of my life.
Well, this all started because I had an uncle who was a homicide detective, and I have another uncle who was a sheriff. And so I grew up with law enforcement background, but after talking to my uncle for years on end about just some of his homicide stuff, I was heavily intrigued in forensic science. So, with that being said, I decided I'm going to go to West Virginia University because they have the best forensic science department in the country. If you didn't know, they do. So I applied to some other schools locally. I applied to Virginia Tech. I applied to Randolph Macon. And then I applied to West Virginia. Well, I got accepted into West Virginia, accepted into Virginia Tech, accepted into Randolph Macon. And I was like, okay, now what? So I did some back and forth and deciding, and we ended up deciding that I was going to go to West Virginia. So this is like kind of the beginning of my senior year. So long story short, me and Jacob end up meeting in February of my senior year. So we meet in February. We went to different high schools, but we had a lot of mutual friends. And we met in February. Mind you, I'm going away now 6 hours to college in August. My brother actually knew Jacob before I ever did, and I knew Jacob's best friend before I ever knew Jacob. So, funny, it's just like small world. But me and Jacob start talking in February, start dating in March, and kind of are figuring out what are we going to do? Are we going to stay together? Or is this just like not meant to be and you're going to go away to college and I'm going to go do whatever I'm going to do and this is the end of us? So, we're trying to navigate that. We decide to stay together and pursue long distance. So, we graduate high school in June. I leave for West Virginia in August. Jacob goes into trade school. So, I get to West Virginia, and for a little bit it was okay, but then the reality of it all just sunk in. I am 6 hours away from home. I don't have my mom when I just need to talk to her. I don't have my boyfriend when I need to talk to him. I don't have my sister to just go get our nails done. And I got to a really low place mentally. Me and my roommate didn't get along. It was just kind of the perfect storm for negativity. I was just not happy there. I remember literally my dad calling me one day just to ask how class went, and I just lost it and was just like sobbing and was like, I'm just so not happy here. And after my dad heard that, he was like, okay, well, let's figure out what we can do. Clearly, you're not in a good place. Like, we'll talk about it. We'll talk to your mom about it and get a game plan. So at this point, I'm like, I'm going to come home back to Virginia. I'm going to pursue nursing because that's more realistic if I ever want to be a wife and if I ever want to have kids. Because with pursuing forensics and going the ballistics route, I essentially wanted to like join the FBI or some sort of agency and like that be my whole life. But I also knew deep down I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a wife. And I knew that I needed to have some sort of work life balance for that to work out in the best way it could. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave West Virginia, go back home, pursue nursing because I can still get a little bit of that adrenaline. I can still get the benefit of helping others, and I can have a better work life balance in the future. So, mind you, me and Jacob are staying together throughout all of this, and long distance is just so rough. Like, it's rough. I do not miss that part of our relationship ever. Like, it is rough. Jacob would like come to West Virginia and see me whenever he could. I would come home whenever I could, but it takes so much effort and it's hard. Well, long story short, I come home from West Virginia after one semester, a full semester. That's all I made it. And I ended up pursuing a nursing degree in a college that's connected to a hospital system here. So I come home from West Virginia. I'm doing like prerequisite classes to start my nursing program. And me and Jacob just hit a rough, rocky patch in our relationship. And I remember literally we broke up and I felt like my whole world was ending. I have never felt anything like that. I've also never loved anybody prior to Jacob. So all of these feelings and emotions that came with our relationship were new. And I legit felt like my world was being turned upside down. So we break up, whatever, whatever. Like, now what? Like, I just came home from college, partially because I want to be with you, and we're breaking up now. Okay, cool. So that was pretty rough. But then we ended up working things out. But when we got back together, it still was rocky, rough, not great. So All this to say, and I'm making a long story short, but his dad had been going to a Bible study with some family friends, and he kept encouraging us to come to it. Now, mind you, I'm kind of at the point in our relationship where if someone would have told me I was going to marry Jacob, I would have laughed in their face. Like, no, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. Craziness. It was just so not stable. I almost woke up every day wondering if we were going to break up. So his dad is asking us to go to this Bible study, and I was so turned off by it. I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted nothing to do with going to church. And I finally got to the point where I was like, your dad needs to stop shoving that down our throat. I'm so grateful that he continued to pursue us and lead us in obedience, because it's now played a huge role in our testimony and in my life. But at the time, I was so turned off by it. I wanted nothing to do with it. I did not want to go to this Bible study, and I certainly did not want to go to church. Well, lo and behold, Maggie and Jacob end up going to this Bible study. So we go to this Bible study, and we actually end up really enjoying it. So week after week, we come back, and we just continue to grow. We're feeling convicted for the first time together in our relationship. And every time we came over, the sweet little couple that would lead it, they were so gentle and so kind, but they did ask, have you guys gotten plugged in at a church anywhere? And I never really took, like, it didn't bother me when they asked that, because I genuinely knew that they just wanted us to grow closer to God and draw nearer to the Lord. And they were just doing what they were supposed to do by encouraging us to do that. So we go to their Bible study every week, and it was really sweet. They invited a bunch of us into their home. They provided dinner for us every week and would just share Jesus. And we ended up growing in that season, just from going to that Bible study. But then through the Bible study, Jacob's dad ended up getting plugged in at a local church. And so he started going to the church a few months prior to when we started, but he would go and he would kind of tell us about it and, always invite us. And we were like, no, thanks. We'll just keep going to the Bible study. Didn't feel the draw to go to church. Until one day we did, kind of like the Bible study. And we both kind of just looked at each other and we were like, okay, we'll go once and we'll see how it goes. So we go to church, and we literally both heard the gospel preached in a way I had never heard it before in that moment. And we both looked at each other and were like, okay, yep, this is the church we want to be a part of. Well, literally since that service, we have not stopped going to that church. That's the church we go to now. And when we first started going, the pastor would always stand at the end of service and just like greet people, talk to visitors, just get to know people. And we would always go talk to him, just being kind. It was small talk. Well, through that, he kind of asked a little bit about me and Jacob's story and where we were from, just wanted to get to know us. And he started pressing on us a little bit. Every time he would see us, he would be like, okay, are y'all going to get engaged? Are y'all engaged yet? Like, what are you doing? He was kind of wanting us to take it to the next step, because that would have been the obedient thing to do biblically. We were living in sin, and obviously our pastor knew that. And so he was just encouraging us to take a step of obedience. So he would just press on us and ask about our relationship, and he was really intentional with us. I am forever grateful. He always took the time to seek us out and have a conversation with us after every single service. Like, no matter how busy it was, no matter how many people he had already talked to, he was so intentional about speaking to me and Jacob specifically. So we ended up feeling super convicted, and Jacob ended up proposing to me. Well, we're still living in sin in this moment. We get engaged, and Jacob formed a relationship with our pastor. His son is heavily involved in baseball, and so our pastor coaches. And through that, he ended up asking Jacob to coach with him because he knew Jacob had an athletic background, played ball and travel ball his whole life and through high school. And Jacob ends up coaching 2 teams with him. He coaches his older son in travel ball, and then he coaches his younger son in t-ball. Well, I'm at a t-ball game one day, and the pastor's wife comes up to me in the parking lot. Mind you, I have probably never had a genuine conversation with her at this point. And she straight up holds me accountable as far as walking in purity in our relationship. And I remember feeling shocked that I wasn't offended, because previously I would have been like, who the heck is this to try and tell me what to do and try and tell me about myself? But in that moment, I genuinely was like, she's right. What I'm doing is wrong, and I need to repent and change my ways. So grateful she held me accountable, and now she's literally one of my very best friends. But me and Jacob ended up talking about that, and we both felt convicted about it heavily. And we decided that it was best walking into the new season of marriage and wanting to do things the right way under the Lord to be abstinent for the duration of our engagement. Now, obviously, that's a lot easier said than done.
Exactly what I was thinking.
It was probably one of the hardest things I've done, but it genuinely made walking into marriage, we knew we were doing things in the best of our ability to do things the right way. And we wanted to honor the Lord. We wanted to be obedient. And so we just felt like it was something we needed to do. And so we ended up doing it. Like I said, it was very difficult. And it genuinely made our wedding night super special in a way that I didn't think it would be. So that was awesome. Like I said, I'm so grateful for the accountability that was spoken into me. Just the boldness of my friend and the pastor's wife just to speak hard truth, but do it because she genuinely cared and wanted the best for me and Jacob. So we ended up getting married. Our pastor, the same pastor I've been talking about, is who married us. And leading up to the point of marriage, because we were engaged for 10 months, but throughout the time of being engaged, our pastor and his wife literally, when I say intentional, they discipled me and Jacob. They constantly invited us to dinner. They constantly were asking us to hang out. And they truly just discipled us. They showed us what it looked like to be a biblical father, a biblical husband, a biblical wife, a biblical mother, but also, too, just encouraged us and helped us to grow in our personal relationships with Jesus. And so that is a time, I'm looking back, I'm just so grateful for that in that season of our life where we had no idea what we were doing. We're young, dumb, and both newly coming back around to the Lord after going prodigal, because Jacob has a similar testimony. And so we just wanted to do things the right way, but they really helped lead us in that direction. So it was really sweet. When we were engaged, we got married in October, but in April of that same year, we ended up both getting baptized, and it was sweet. Our pastor let Jacob help baptize me because we were engaged to be married, and those are just sweet memories that I look back on, and just seeing where we once were. Like I said previously, if someone told me I was going to marry Jacob, I would have laughed at you. like Seeing all of the rocky moments and the ups and the downs and everything in between, to okay, we literally just got baptized together. Okay, we're literally abstaining for the entire duration of our engagement. Okay, we're literally getting married. It was just so cool just to see how the Lord had been working in our entire relationship to bring us to the point that we are. So we got married in October of 2022, and literally I found out I was pregnant in November. And I remember being excited, but also feeling overwhelmed in the sense of like, we just got married. How are we going to do this too? So immediately, of course, we tell our pastor and his wife because they're basically our best friends. And they helped like bring us back down to earth, help us to like feel equipped that like obviously it was like a blessing from the Lord. Just helped calm us down and prepare us for what was going to come. So, flash forward 10 months, we ended up having Asa. We did not find out what gender he was the entire time we were pregnant. We wanted it to be a complete surprise. And so that was really fun. Had him, and that presented a new set of challenges. We hadn't even been married a year yet, and here we are with a brand new baby. And obviously, you're sleep deprived, you don't feel great, you're going through postpartum hormonal changes, and you're also newly married. And so I have to say, like, postpartum wasn't an awful season in our life or in our marriage, but it just presented some challenges as it does for anybody. So we navigated that. And now we've been just blessed with opportunities through obedience, of course, and drawing near to the Lord in our church to serve in a larger capacity. Um, One detail I forgot to mention is when we first started getting plugged in at our church, our pastor sought me out and asked me to teach children's ministry. And this is before me and Jacob are married. I certainly did not feel equipped, but I gave in to the fact that I felt like he saw something in me that I just wasn't seeing in myself. So if he thought I could do it and sought me out and asked me to do it, I should just try it. So I ended up doing it. With that, I've taught in children's ministry. Me and Jacob now serve on our youth leadership team. And then, of course, you've heard Macy talk about I also sing on our worship team. And it's just been so crazy, kind of like how Macy said in her testimony of just looking back on every phase of our life and seeing grace and God's protection and provision and Him just knowing better than I do in my life over and over and over again. And He still is shocking me with His grace and His protection and His provision daily in my life now. Um, Flash forward to now, as Macy kind of talked about also, of course, it looks different for the two of us, but me and Jacob are also in a season of waiting. We have the desire to grow our family also, and have been just struggling for it's been over a year and 5 or 6 months now of infertility as well. So it's been crazy because when I ended up going to the weekend at home with Missy in April and connected with Macy for the first time, we just had so many things in common. Like, none of this is a coincidence. And it's just crazy now, even looking at our friendship and this podcast. And the Lord's hand has been so obvious in all of it. Like, I'm not making this up when me and Macy tell you every single day since we left Louisiana, we've talked. Like, every day. Like,
Yes.
literally every
Sometimes
day.
hours at a time.
Yes, we just have so much in common. But I was really encouraged hearing, more about Macy and what she's walking through and has walked through, because it's biblical. Like I've brought up the verse before in 2 Corinthians, like, half the things we go through sometimes aren't even about us. It's to comfort somebody else. And like, I know, like, obviously, yes, I have a child, but like Macy's talked about, if you want to grow your family, you know the desire and what it feels like. And I think too, like, I've just been so encouraged by things Macy's told me, or like just being transparent about her feelings walking through what she's walking through, have helped me in ways that I didn't even know I could be helped. And I hope vice versa. But all of this is just the Lord. And I think something that I truly came to understand is looking back on my life, there's been so many times that I feel like the Lord wanted to use me to do something, and I was the one who shut the door. I was the one who was disobedient. I was the one who walked away. Like, we have the decision every day to meet with God in the messy of our life, of chaos, of being a wife, of being a friend. Like, we have the opportunity to invite Him into the messiness, in the chaos, in the crazy. And guess what? If you invite Him, He'll show up every single time. It's us who doesn't show up for the meeting with Him. And so I think just looking back on the opportunities, like I said, I just feel like the Lord has always wanted to do something in each and every one of our lives. But we have the opportunity to be disobedient or to shut the door. Like, He has plans in store for us that often we're not even obedient to. And so I've been encouraged that as I've grown in my relationship with the Lord, that it's cool when you can look back and see things and know that, like, it only came from Him. For instance, like I said, this podcast, my opportunity to go to Louisiana, even, like, okay, from that, I grew spiritually in that weekend, but I also got to meet great women that I have relationships with now. Like, I got to meet Macy, who is literally my best friend 1,000 miles away. Like, there's just so many things, and it's just so crazy, like, to see how the Lord's hand has been over me my whole life, even when I was completely prodigal, disobedient, didn't want Christianity shoved down my throat. Like, He has always been there, and I haven't. And I think that it's just so humbling. Like, He truly has been chasing after me every single day of my 25 years on this earth. All this to say, I don't have the straight and narrow testimony. I have the prodigal, wayward testimony. And if this rings true with you, I hope that this was an encouragement to show you what the Lord can do on the side of obedience, that there's so much more in store on the side of obedience, and so much more freedom found in a true relationship and surrender to Jesus than what you're going to gain by wandering and being prodigal and living for the world. Like, there's direction and clarity and freedom and joy and so many emotions that I've experienced that I never did in those years of wandering. So, I hope you got to learn a little bit more about me through this episode. Of course, that was the short and condensed version. There's so many details and so many stories and so many things in between that I left out. But I hope that it was easy to follow, that I didn't ramble or go off track too much, and that truly I can be an encouragement to help you also find the true freedom, which is only found in Jesus.
That is so good. Honestly, I learned a lot. I was listening the whole time and absorbing everything that you said. Because despite the fact that we talk every day, we don't talk about our histories and ourselves so much. But something that just really rings out with your testimony is that God put so many people in your life
Mm.
to guide you the right direction. But it wasn't until you really wanted that
Uh-huh.
that you made that decision on your own. And so I just think that it really has put His hand in your life. I think that that is just so cool how God continually brought people into your life to bring you closer to Him. And I mean, even look at yours and Jacob's story, and just Jacob's story, that He brought y'all together because He knew that y'all would find Him once y'all were on the same page. And I just absolutely love that as part of your testimony, Maggie. It is just so cool to see. And then knowing you now, past the stage of being prodigal, it is truly just like amazing that God put everyone into your life for a reason and then brought us together and all of our girls that we met at Logtown. So I think that is just such a great reminder that it really is about who you surround yourself with, and that people can either bring you closer to him or they can pull you away. So Maggie, I am just super grateful that you shared your testimony with us and that we got to know you a little bit better on the show. And like, everybody is on a different walk with the Lord. I really hope that this was encouraging to everybody listening, that you're not alone and that there are people out there that are going to push you closer to God. So I am so glad that you joined us for this episode, and we cannot wait to talk again.
All right, friend, that's a wrap on today's episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you're walking away feeling a little more encouraged, a little more seen, and reminded that Jesus truly brings the extra to the ordinary.
If you loved this convo, we'd love if you'd subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave us a review. It seriously means the world to us.
And come hang out with us over on Instagram at extra_ordinary_pod. We'd love to connect with you there. You can put faces to the name and see some of the shenanigans we get into.
Until next time, stay rooted in Jesus and keep looking for the extra in the ordinary. Me? Macy. Hello? Macy?